Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Yasser Ahmed. So in this video, we will continue looking at chapter 6 from the ICT IGCSE course. Chapter 6 is ICT applications. So let me go ahead and just make this full screen so you guys can see it a little bit better. So we stopped at this point in the last video, so please check out the first part. And we're now going to be looking at 6.4 school management systems. So school management systems are now used in schools by staff to complete a number of tasks on a daily basis. So pretty much when I was new to teaching, we were using school management systems, and I was nearly 16 years ago. And it was actually the same application shown here. So this is Sims. And one of the main reasons we were using a school management system is to track registration and attendance or learner attendance at registration, okay, and throughout the school and when they go into the lessons. Okay, so I actually remember when I was a kid and I was in school, registers would be taken on paper. And obviously, the problem with paper is paper can go missing. It's not in a central place. So if you wanted to check on someone's attendance, you'd have to go and find that piece of paper. So the great thing about school management systems is if you make an adjustment where you're sat on your computer as a teacher, you do a register, then somebody else in another building, another room, office can check that register and see who's present and who's absent. Communication can be made to parents. Obviously, if some people are missing from school, and we can chase that up. So, how does Sims work? So, teachers will be able to click on a particular class and complete the register. Once this is saved, then other users of the management system can see who's been registered for that particular period. So, let's say, for example, you've noticed Bob is present during period 1, 2, and 3. You have the lesson period 4, and Bob was now missing. So you can question the fact Bob has been in school, but he's now missing. And then obviously we can chase up that information. We can chase up and see where Bob is. Obviously, if this was done on a piece of paper, you wouldn't know Bob has been in school in the previous lessons unless you ask the other students. So this is useful as it allows teachers to see who should be attending their lessons, and the data of the attendance can easily be analysed. Reports can be generated, graphs can be created. Also, on the school management system, we can track performance of the students. We can insert grades at particular points during a term. We can also add work ethic or application of kids, during each subject, predicted grades. And then all of this information can then be fed into a school report every term. Okay. Again, the great thing about the school management system is central. So all the data that's been inputted into the system can be accessed by anyone, any teacher, I should say. You need to log in with a username and password, so the data in the school management system will be secure. Also, other types of data will be included in school management systems, maybe contact details of parents. Perhaps you're planning a school trip and you want to check out the medical conditions of the kids you're taking, if there's any allergies or anything like that, then all of this data will be in a school management system. So basically, anything that we need on each student will be stored on here, any data that's going to be required throughout their school life. So the benefits to schools and parents. So parents are able to log in and access students' reports online. We don't need to print them off. They can be kept up to date about exam results and general students' progress within different subjects. Also, they can receive immediate feedback, and there would be no need for printed reports, which would obviously reduce costs in the long term. Right, let's keep going. Let's go to the next slide. So we've got some questions now which we're going to look at. A school has introduced a system so that parents of the students can access data about their children. Give 3 reasons why the school has introduced this system. So we've got lots of reasons here. To save printing costs of reports, as we mentioned. To ensure test results are received by parents. To allow immediate feedback to parents after tests and exams. Sorry guys, I think I need some water. And to keep parents up to date with their child's progress and their set targets. Okay, guys, we're now going to be looking at 6.5 online booking systems. So booking systems is a type of question that comes up quite often in recent papers. So you probably all are familiar with booking, and maybe you're familiar with going to the cinema, booking a seat in advance. What you don't want is to turn up and someone has sat on your seat, so you've got a double booking. And the use of online booking allows us to minimize double booking because every process is managed in real time. So let me explain. Let me zoom in a little bit. So online bookings use real-time processing, which allows users to make and confirm bookings instantly. Once payment has been received and booking is confirmed, then booking cannot be double booked. So here's an example. Maybe you want to go and book a ticket at the cinema. This could be done online. It could be done through mobile apps. And you can see which seats are available. So maybe the ones in red, um, or maybe the ones in green have been booked. Let me just see here. I'm not sure which have been booked or not been booked. But let's say for this example, green has been booked and red seats are still available. So when you get to this point here where you're picking these seats, you can choose the ones which are still available. And as soon as you make the payment, then nobody else can take those seats. So they will be booked under your name. So when would you use an online booking system? So for example, if you're looking to book some flights, trains or buses for entertainment purposes, maybe theatre, cinema as mentioned, booking uh, tickets at a stadium to watch a football match perhaps, and accommodation, hotels, apartments and villas. So how does a booking system work? Well, let's talk about that and then we'll have a look at the advantages and disadvantages. So before we can make a booking, we need some inputs from the user. So the user will select their requirements. So let's say, for example, we're booking a flight. We want to enter from where we're flying from and where we're flying to. Then we want to enter some dates. Okay. Maybe you might enter a date and say, look, I'm happy to go on a flight maybe on a next day or on an earlier day by 1 or 2 days window. Then he may want to be a little bit more specific and say, I want only a direct flight. Maybe you've got kids and you don't want to be stopping over anywhere. Right, then a computer will do a check. So basically we process the input and information and we'll check the availability. The output will be, yes, we have availability. These are the potential seats or flights. Okay, or there's no availability. What about these other flights? So then at that point, the user will make a decision. They can decide to go ahead and book a flight. Once they've selected their seats, for example, and made their payments, then normally what happens is an email confirmation will be sent. Payment confirmation will be sent as well. However, let's say, for example, you're paying and you don't have enough funds and there may be a rejection. So that's the process of booking a ticket for a flight. Inputs, select the requirements, process with checking availability. Then the outputs will be actually rejection is if there's no seats available, then maybe they can give alternatives which might be more suitable for you. So let's look at the advantage and disadvantage. So the user can check the availability of tickets and compare prices on comparison websites. Confirmation message is sent instantly once payment has been authorized. To prevent double booking, the whole process is done in real time, and this will prevent double booking. This means if someone's made a booking, then it instantly becomes unavailable. And you may receive special offers if you regularly book using a particular booking website. Now, the disadvantage is it may be difficult to cancel a booking and get your money back. Online booking services have known to crash due to high level of traffic to a website. So let's say, for example, you go to a concert, it's a really popular performer. And what if there's such a demand, the website crashes. So maybe you can't get on and get your tickets. Sometimes, obviously, when you're doing it online and not doing it face to face, you can't receive specific advice. And websites may not be user friendly. May not be user friendly and may make bookings more difficult. Obviously, you would need the internet or some sort of device as well to complete these bookings. Right, so we've got some questions here. I'm just going to put some context into these questions. Now, in the UK, If you want to go to see a doctor, what you get told is at 8 o'clock in the morning, you need to call up and try and make an appointment. But can you guess what everyone's doing at the same time? Everyone's calling at 8 o'clock and you're normally waiting. By the time you get through, there's no more appointments available. And sometimes you might, I saw this in one instance where someone's gone into the doctors, they were speaking to the reception. They basically explained, we called 8 o'clock in the morning, there was no availability. When is the next time you can see us? And the reception basically said, come back next week, which is not ideal. So let's have a look at this question here. A manager in a hospital has decided to ask a software company to develop a computer system. The system should allow patients to book all their medical appointments online. Discuss the advantage and disadvantage to both the patients and the medical staff of this type of system. So the patient can book basically 24/7, okay? And it can easily be checked on the internet, okay? So you can make a booking and you can also check the availability of bookings on your app, on your phone, or on a website. It would be faster to cancel and change the booking online. Email and text reminders can be sent automatically to the patient. The medical staff would spend less time on the phone, allowing them to do other tasks. Bookings can also come, bookings online from any device on the move would be more convenient. So you don't necessarily need to be on a phone calling up. You don't need to be sat at home. You could be on a bus, transport, train somewhere, maybe on the move, making your booking. However, if the system goes down, the ability to make the appointment is lost, an internet connection is required, and some basic computer skills are also required to make a booking. Admin staff may lose their jobs because obviously if the booking system is doing these things for them, then we don't need people sitting at the desks receiving phone calls. We have another question about booking tickets. So To Our School is presenting a concert. For previous concerts, the booking of tickets was carried out manually using pen and paper. For this concert, they're going to use the online booking system. Again, let's look at advantage and disadvantage of To Our School using an online booking system rather than a manual system. So it's pretty much the same as last time. Last question. Bookings can be made 24/7. The booking staff can immediately see, I need to read it properly. The booking staff can see immediately if the concert is fully booked or which seats are still available. Same as if you're booking to go to a cinema, you can see which seats are still available. Maybe if you sat, only the seats at the front are available. On the sides, maybe you don't want that view, and maybe you'll wait for the next day to book a more appropriate seat with a better view. Let's go ahead. Let's get back to the question. An online booking system would also prevent double booking. So we discussed all of these. However, setting up is more expensive. The school would be required to purchase new hardware. The maintenance of the system would also be expensive. Internet would be required to run the booking system. Therefore, the cost may be increased. Okay, then we have another question on booking systems. And what I'm going to do is just zoom out a little bit. If you want to read, actually, let's go ahead and do this question before we move on. So describe the processing. So it's a different type of question, actually, carried out by the theatre's computer when making a booking. So the computer looks up the date of the performance and a matching record is retrieved. Okay. The computer then searches if the seats are available. If the seats are available, then they are flagged to stop double booking. The cost of the seats are calculated and tickets are generated and a verification email is sent. So this is what the computer is doing. Once the booking is complete, the number of seats are available are reduced. And if booking is not completed, then temporarily whole flag is removed from the seat. So whilst you're looking at those seats, no one else can make that booking. So whilst you're looking and deciding if you want to go ahead, nobody else can look at the same seats. There's probably going to be a timeout after maybe a minute or like 30 seconds, whatever. If you haven't proceeded, then maybe those same seats will be available and you might be logged out. Okay, and again, you got some more questions about booking. So there's quite a few questions about online booking systems. So I will just let you guys read this, and you can pause the video and you can have a look at this in your own time. I'm going to go to the next part now. So 6.6, banking applications. Okay, so an ATM cash machine can be used for various purposes, including cash withdrawal, deposit, checking, and printing statements. How does it work, and what processes are going to be taking place? So when you go to an ATM, so you can see some pictures here, you will insert your card into the ATM, and the first prompt you may be asked is to choose your language. Then you will be asked to enter your PIN, so normally 4 digits or 6 digits. And you normally have 3 attempts to enter the correct PIN. So when you enter the PIN is then compared with the PIN stored on a chip. If the PIN is the same, then the customer can proceed. If not, customer will be requested to enter the PIN again. But obviously, many incorrect attempts may cause your card to be blocked, or the card may not be returned. So let's say we've entered the correct PIN. If the PIN is correct, then the customer will select a service, and you got all of these services. You can withdraw cash or deposit cash, check your balance, print your statement, or top up your phone. If the customer selects a cash withdrawal, then they are requested to select an amount they would like to withdraw. Okay, so the next process is the customer's account is checked to see if they have sufficient funds. So let's say we're trying to take out £1,000. Okay, and if I only have £950, that will be declined. Also, maybe there's a daily limit. So maybe the daily limit is £900. That will also be declined. So what the user will be prompted to do is to choose a lesser amount, which is less than the daily limit, and also within their funds. So if they only have £800, that's the maximum they can take. Right, so if there are sufficient funds and the amount is within the card limit and then the required notes are issued. Customers is requested if they would like a receipt, then you can either choose yes or no. The card is then returned to the customer, as well as receipt if you've selected yes, and as well as cash. Right, let's have a look at electronic fund transfer. So that EFT for short allows money to be transferred electronically from one account to another. An example of EFT is when an employer pays their employees and their salaries. So, for example, the bank or not the bank, the company looking to pay their employees will have a bank account. Okay, and each employee will also have a bank account. An EFT instruction is created to pay the employees. So in this instance here, 4,500 will be subtracted from this account here and will be deposited in these individual accounts. So you'll get 1,500 here, 1,500 here for employee 2, and 1,500 here for employee 3. So normally this happens at the same time every month in one transaction. And the advantage is there's no physical money transferred, which makes the transfer more secure. Transfers of salaries can be regulated by the government. So, for example, in Qatar, to ensure all employers are paying their employees on time, so this can be checked. And customers can set up standing orders or direct debits to pay bills on specific dates. However, the disadvantage is money could be transferred from the incorrect account, or the incorrect amount of money could be transferred by mistake. Let's say, for example, you want to take out a phone contract in the UK and you want to pay monthly. If you have a history of poor credit, you're not been paying your bills on time, you may be declined to use EFT as a method of payment. Okay, and the last point here, guys, regarding the check. Okay, so let's say you are paying for accommodation and you want to give 4 checks for annual payments, so 1 payment for each quarter. Okay, so you're giving your check to your landlord. Okay, what they will do is they will take your check to their bank to deposit. The bank will then set about contacting the drawing bank, so they'll contact your bank, so the person who's given the 4 checks. The check is cleared when a depositing bank has received the check and the funds from the drawing bank has been transferred to the landlords. So that's basically how that works. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. There you go, move that down there. Okay. And then we have some exam questions. A customer is booking a seat on a theatre's online booking system. The customer reserves seats using the theatre's website and a debit card. The website displays the seats that are available, and the database stores the customer details, the payment details, and the seat details. When the customer enters their debit card details for a seat, the theatre's computer communicates with the bank's computer. So we want to make a payment using our debit card. So this is going to be using the funds which are in your account. If you're using a credit card, obviously you're going to be using funds within your limit of your credit card. So this is the debit card will automatically take out money from your account and transfer it across to the bank that the theatre is using. So for this to process the payment, what does the bank's computer have to do? So describe 4 checks the bank's computer will make on a customer's bank account or customer's bank account. It will check if the debit card number is valid, still exists. Does the name entered match the name on the system? Does the expiry start date match the date stored on the system? Is there available funds in the bank account? Is the card blocked or reported stolen? Obviously, if it's blocked or reported stolen, you can't use it. If you don't have funds, then you can't make the payments. If the card has been expired or doesn't match up on the system, then we can't really use it. And obviously, if you're entering an incorrect name, you're not going to be able to use the same card. And then let's look at the processing that takes place at the POS, a point of sale. This is when we're making a payment using a debit card. So once the customer has entered the PIN, it will be compared to the PIN on the chip. If the PIN is correct, the card will be checked to see if this is valid, so not stolen and expired. If the card is valid, then the transaction will continue. Using account details on the chip, the shop computer will make contact with the customer's bank. Checks will be made for sufficient funds to complete a transaction. If funds are available, then the amount will be transferred from the customer's account to the shop's account. If funds are not available, then the transaction will be declined. If the transaction has been successful, the receipt will be printed and the card will be given back to the customer. Right, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to stop at this point and you can join me in the next video where we can look at 6.6 banking applications, and we're going to start off by looking at online banking. So please drop your comments below, like and share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.